So I was on the Dave Ramsey show, and it was a surreal and shocking experience for a handful of reasons. There are some highs, some pleasant surprises, and there were some lows. So we are going to just go through my experience and talk about Dave Ramsey in general. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much. Welcome. I'm so very glad to have you. My name is Trey. I make videos based off of personal finance. My ultimate goal is to be able to make enough income from other sources than a 9-to-5 to be able to have the freedom or the option to leave the 9-to-5 life if I ever want to. I'm also a gay man. Gay! I'm wearing my little pride shirt today because a lot of my identity as a gay man has influenced my perception of Dave Ramsey. As a little bit of a background, I actually got into personal finance because of Dave Ramsey. He's the first kind of influencer that I found to be approachable, funny enough. And the reason that I was going on the show is because I paid off $43,000 of debt in a matter of just over 2 years. It was a car loan and student loans, and basically Dave Ramsey gives space to normal people to just come on the show to tell their story about how they paid off their debt. I talked about my income, the fact that I hopped jobs and changed industries just so I could pay off my debt and set myself up better financially for my future.
Let's hear a debt-free scream!
3, 2, 1, I'm debt-free!
Yeah! This is how it's done right here, baby.
His platform is one of the only platforms that does that out there. Other financial creators mainly have other financial creators on their show for marketing purposes. You know, it's like a basic YouTube collab. But Dave Ramsey allows average Joes, everyday people to come onto his platform and tell their story. So that's the main reason that I did it. I wanted to be able to hopefully inspire people with my story. That's a big reason why I'm making this YouTube channel, apart from just holding myself accountable to my own financial goals, but sharing them out into the world, well, one, holds me extra accountable, but I like to think that it gives people hope to achieve their financial goals too, which I know is already happening because people are subscribing to my channel and people have left great comments saying that I've inspired them or that they followed me on their journey and that I've inspired them to at least take one actionable step towards their goals. So honestly, that's enough for me to convince me to keep going and to spread my message further. And that's why I ultimately decided to go through with being on the Dave Ramsey show even after this scandal came out. For reference, he fired a woman that worked under him because she got pregnant before she was married. And she tried to sue the company for her being fired as discrimination, but apparently it was legal because they didn't fire her because she was pregnant, but because she had sex before marriage, which is like, come on, how is that, like, literally, how is that better? You might be saying, Trey, that's fucked up. Why would you want to be on the show of someone who has fired an employee for that discriminatory reason? And I would say to you that this actually happened after I was already booked to be on the show. Also, I don't see many gay people in the personal finance space, which is a fucking robbery to our people. And I kind of wanted to be the start of that if possible. I mean, there's probably some people out there that I just don't know about, and like, honestly, put them in the comments if that's true. But I wanted to be able to not be the figurehead for all like gay men or something, but I just wanted to show like other gay people too, like, hey, I've done this, like, you can too. Like, we can all talk about money. It's not just like a straight conservative topic. So all of those reasons and my personal ones of just wanting to celebrate my journey with everyone are the reasons that I continue to be on the show. In any case, let's actually talk about the kind of weird and shocking experiences that happened. So the first weird experience that happened was well before I was on the show. It was actually when I was reached out to be on the show. I got this call randomly one afternoon. It was like 1 or 2 p.m. and a woman answers the phone and she has a really hushed and scared tone to her voice. She was like,
"Hi, this is..."
insert name here.
"From the Ramsey Solutions office in Tennessee. Is this Trey?"
And like, I'm not trying to like make fun of her by any means. It was just like honestly a little concerning. Like, it sounded like someone was holding a gun to her head while she was trying to talk to me. So that just raised a red flag kind of immediately. Like, I thought maybe it was a joke. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is Trey. How are you? And so then she tells me about the program and that I was selected, and asked if I would want to be on in July. And I said, yeah, sure. Yeah, like, let's let's do it. It was just a very strange experience at first with her sounding so scared to talk to me. Just some kind of bad vibes off the bat. So I think I got this call in March and I was supposed to be on in July. So it took like 4 months for me to actually be on the show after I had accepted. By the time I was actually going to the show, I was going down to Nashville and no like mileage coverage or flight ticket is offered since you can just call in, which like makes sense, but I thought maybe they would offer me like something, but no, that didn't happen. So I decided to make a whole road trip of this event. I started where I live now in Baltimore, picked up my friend, and then we drove down to Tennessee and took a bunch of stops on the way. It was actually a beautiful trip.
West Virginia, Mountain Mama. I'm debt free!
So we finally get there, and the second weird thing about this experience is that the Ramsey Solutions office is in the middle of goddamn nowhere. It's in a town called Franklin, Tennessee, which is a little over a half hour outside of Nashville, but it reminded me of where I grew up, which is like cornfields, rolling hills, which isn't bad. It was just kind of weird because the building is huge. Like he really has built kind of an empire. It was just kind of strange to see this really large corporate office in the middle of nothing. It just felt a little weird, like we were in the wrong place. And then as soon as you walk through the door of the headquarters, there's like a Jesus quote at the top, which like isn't necessarily bad. And I don't really have anything against Christianity unless you're homophobic and believe that the Bible says that gay people should go to hell or something. I'm not saying that they necessarily believe that at the Ramsey Solutions office, but I'm always a little skeptical because I grew up around a community of people that did believe that. So just seeing that was, again, kind of like, do I belong here? It started to make me feel a little bit uncomfortable. This woman worked as the receptionist for the office, and she was super nice, asked me who I was. I told her that I was there for a debt-free scream. She didn't seem to know that I was there or going to be showing up for a debt-free scream, so that was kind of weird. But then she introduced me to a woman named Kelly, who I think Dave talks about a lot on the show. She's the one who helped me like mic up, told me how everything was gonna work. One actually really cool, shocking thing that I didn't expect to happen was after I was kind of told the rules and how everything was going to work when it was my turn to go on the air, they showed me their cafe, which was super cute, and everything at the cafe is free. If you just go there as a visitor, you can get like coffee and a snack for free, which I thought was actually really cool. Not saying that it makes up for being discriminatory and firing a person because they don't align with your religious beliefs, but was a very kind of like welcoming Southern hospitality type vibe. I came with my friend Natalie because we took this road trip together and she had supported me throughout the journey. And the other weird thing that happened when I was there is I asked the woman who helped me mic up if my friend Natalie could actually join me on the show. They always have couples on there together. I didn't think it would be an issue since they tend to have families with like kids that obviously aren't paying the bills or working towards their goal, but are still probably, you know, supportive or the love of the life of the parents that are on the journey. And to me, Natalie was not my child, but a friend that had always had my back during this journey, and I was able to be open and honest with her about like my figures, my numbers, and this experience. So I wanted her to be on the air with me, and she was even gonna talk a little bit about my YouTube channel. We had this whole thing planned out. And so I asked them like, hey, can she just stand here with me on the show and talk about it? It would make me feel a lot more comfortable. And they literally were like, no. They're like, she was not part of your journey. But guess what? It gets better. She was like, oh, well, like, are you guys married? Like, you know, were you dating during this experience? And I was like, well, no, we were not.
Gay!
So she says, well, you know, if you had been married or you guys were spouses or something, which is like the same thing, then she would have let my friend go on the air with me. And I wouldn't actually be upset if she had given a different reason for why my friend couldn't be on the show. If she had said from a logistical standpoint, hey, it doesn't really make sense because she's not going to have much to say because your finances were yours and she wasn't helping you manage them in any way. You know, she's not going to add a lot of value to the story, so it doesn't really make sense for her to just stand there and like not say anything. If she had said that to me, I would have understood and been more receptive to it. But the fact that she said that the only way that Natalie could be on the stage with me was to be married to me, that honestly pissed me off. People don't have to be married to be a support system. Why can't friends work towards the same goal together. Like, yes, it was my story, but if Natalie had been a really big part of that, and to me she was, why would she not be able to talk about these experiences as well? It just goes back to the view that like nothing really matters. A relationship between a man and woman like doesn't really mean anything unless you're married. Like, that's the type of vibe that I got. They did pan to her like once, but still it was just kind of, I don't know, it just upset me a little that they weren't more receptive to me having my support system be a part of the story. So then I'm able to tell my story, I give my speech, I'm actually having a great time talking to Dave, and the conversation goes really well, and Dave is actually extremely nice to me throughout this entire thing. No one throws me any curveballs because I'm gay, besides the not letting Natalie come join me on the stage thing. But there was one moment after my scream that rubbed me the wrong way and also frustrated me. Dave said that I would be able to, spend this next chapter of my life gearing up to get married and like have kids. The fact that it just wasn't inclusive to like, maybe I don't want to get married and maybe like I don't want to have kids. Those are all possibilities. And yes, I could get married and have kids as a gay man. I see those comments coming, and that wouldn't necessarily be homophobic, but like there's no way that he was saying that trying to imply that I would get married to a man and have kids with a man. I just don't see it. I just really don't buy it. After that though, honestly, everything else ran smoothly. The conversation ended. He said that I would be worth $20 million if I just submit 15% of my income until the age of 65 to like a 401k or some type of investment account. And I have not checked that math yet, but I am almost 100% positive that that would not equal $20 million, starting at 25, ending at 65. So after my segment is finished on the show, they give me this little gift basket with 2 of Dave's books, as well as 2 mugs, one for me, one for Natalie, with the Dave Ramsey Show emblem on them. That's kind of it, because that was the last hour on the show. Oh, they start to read scripture, actually. So that was interesting. I had kind of forgotten, because I had stopped listening to Dave Ramsey because of all the shit that happened. But yeah, it is like a Christian show as well. So they started like reading scripture, which then started to make me feel uncomfortable again. Just two more notes about this experience. One is that pretty much all of the stars of the show are men besides his own daughter, Rachel Cruz. And then all of the people that are like taking care of the show, the receptionist, the woman who taught me how to mic up and like told me all the directions and stuff. And then also the editors that were working like in real time on the show. Production. There we go. The production crew were like predominantly women. It was just very weird to me that all of the stars of the show were men, and then all of the people doing, honestly, like kind of the bitch work were women. And the fact that he is kind of holding power over these women and then firing them for having sex before marriage. It's just like, all of that just feels icky to me. I really do wonder how I would have been treated differently if I had worn this shirt, for example, like to the airing, or if I had talked about being gay in my journey at all. I think it would have been a very different experience, and I'm honestly not sure what they would have done. A part of me wishes I would have talked about it more on the show. And if there's been any gay person on the show before, like there probably has, but if there's been anyone that has identified as gay on the show, like someone let me know, because that would be an awesome thing to watch. All in all, it was kind of a decent experience knowing what I was getting into, but would I go on this show again? No. Dave Ramsey was a really good place for me to start, but now that I know how to take control of my own finances, now I don't need him anymore. I know how to align my own financial well-being with my own values. And unfortunately, I think Dave Ramsey's platform kind of compromises some of those values for me. I don't believe in the way that he's running his company and treating his employees at the very least. I believe in managing my wealth differently. I can do a whole video on that too, but basically he has a very conservative idea of investing and managing wealth that doesn't really align with my own personal standards, which is fine. The part that's not fine is the social and political stuff for me. So that pretty much sums it up. The shocking experiences were mainly that I was treated really well when I was there, besides the whole kerfuffle between my request for my friend to be on the show and also just how embedded religion and their politics are in the show. They take tons of calls about how socialists need to be stopped and stuff like that, which just like isn't really necessary in the personal finance space. It was really nice to be able to share my story on his show despite the feeling awkward about it. I think that I won't be really listening to Dave Ramsey anymore. I'm not really gonna be reading his books because I already know what content is gonna be in there, and I know that I don't agree with a lot of it past getting out of debt. All in all, I think Dave Ramsey is a good place to start if you want a like wireframe for getting out of debt. If you just need a structure and don't know where to start, I think his baby steps are a great place to start, but I wouldn't recommend listening to his show if you don't want religion. That's probably gonna leave a bad taste in your mouth, as it does in mine. In any case, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here, and I'm excited to keep sharing my story with you. So have a great rest of your day, night, wherever, whenever you are, and I'll see you next time. Bye.